Hello Plarp Nation, my name Plarp. Alright, this video is about a weird experience I had. I want to say paranormal, near-death or partial near-death experience. It occurred when I was 12 years old at a water park in Southern California, Irvine specifically. The place was called Wild Rivers. And yeah, so this place, it had, water slides, lazy river, just your standard water park. It was one specific ride I went on. It was sort of like a series of tubes, kind of like that guy, some politician guy described the internet as a series of tubes. And this water slide was similar to like a series of, just one tube, kind of like in a knot, just kind of twisting around on itself. You would get in at the top. At the very top was probably like 50 feet in the air, I want to say, like 40 feet. Very vague memory of the outline of the ride, but it was way up there. You had to go up several flights of stairs, and then you'd get on the ride, and then gravity would propel you down because it would just be sloping down all the way. And this tube had water flowing through it constantly, so your body would be propelled forward. Standard water slide stuff. I was kind of a smaller, undersized kid, and so I think that contributed to why I really sloshed around back and forth a lot during the ride. That's one thing about the ride itself, being on it, that I can remember, is because this experience, paranormal near-death experience, whatever, happened at the end of the ride, near about the 9/10 of the way through the ride, I'd say. Sloshing back and forth, I built up a lot of like side-to-side momentum throughout the ride. And so anyways, the way the ride was constructed, eventually the tube connected to this like half tube, but it was open at the top, open to the sky, and then that was maybe 10 feet long or something, and then that connected to a slide that was at like a 45-degree angle that led into a long, narrow, rectangular pool, sort of like a trough of water about 1 foot deep. And all the speed that you built up from the ride, the momentum finally would be like extinguished by your feet pushing feet first through this water, and it eventually would slow you down enough so that you'd stop completely and you could step out of the ride. All right, so where this happened was the part where the tube that I was in connected to the half tube connected to the slide. The transition from the tube to the half tube, and I hope I'm explaining this well, but the transition from the full tube to the half tube, because I had this weird side-to-side momentum, I emerged from the tube into the half tube on the lip of the half tube. My body was like grinding on the lip or sliding on the lip of the half tube. I hope I'm explaining this well. You gotta like picture it in your mind as best you can. But anyways, my body was like riding on the edge of the side of the tube, basically. And this half tube was suspended 30 feet in the air, I want to say 25 feet above concrete. And that's important because if I had fully fallen over the side of the half tube, I would have been disoriented on my back, falling 25 feet or so onto concrete. I mean, it would have been either life-ending or life-changing in terms of severity of how injured I would have been. And so that moment, right when I was on the edge of the lip of the half tube or edge of the half tube and I was about to fall over, that's when everything went dark. It was middle of the day, as bright as it could be out at the water park, and suddenly I found myself in this black void. And one thing I remember is like there was no fear. I wasn't afraid. I just was wondering how I got to this black void area. I couldn't see my body. It felt like I was just a consciousness floating in outer space or something, just complete blackness. And I floated there for a while, just wondering what is this? Where am I? This is unusual. But again, not panicking, not afraid. Then I felt this kind of jerk feeling, like or a shudder or something, like if you kickstart a motorcycle, so it felt like something, it's very hard to describe, but like heavy machinery like clicking into place. I felt this jolt, I guess is the best way to describe it, in the blackness, and all of a sudden this book materialized in front of me. It just like blossomed out of nothing into my field of vision, and I think it started closed, and it looked like I have a vague memory of this, but just like not a paperback little throwaway book, but like a tome, like a almost like a big book that is like leather bound and important or something. Majestic, looked like a huge, heavy leather bound type book, and it materialized closed into my field of vision, and then it opened by itself, and the pages, both sides were revealed to me, and it started at the beginning, and the pages flipped forward, and the pages did not have text or writing on them. The pages were full motion video, like clear, perfect, high resolution, color, moving images, and they were all scenes of my life. I just saw like little bits of my life. It was all moving too fast for me to see individual scenes. I just could tell that it was of me and my places that I had lived and whatnot. It all felt very rushed, the experience. Like I shouldn't be looking at this right now, but I gotta look at something. Or we're gonna show you something while you're here. I don't know, but it moved fast, so I wish I could make out more of it in my memory, but all I could remember was how vibrant and vivid the colors were, and how it just looked lush and beautiful, like this complicated, weird object, this like video book is like shown right in front of me. It just kind of like, I was a suburban 12-year-old kid. I had no frame of reference for like bizarre psychedelic experiences or anything like that. This was like a psychedelic experience. Like the images were like glowing. It was like there was like light shining through them. The book just flipped so quickly, almost like it was being blown by the wind or something, so fast I could just barely make out anything. Oh yeah, I do remember having the conscious thought while I was looking at the images as they were being shown to me in the pages of this book so quickly. I had thought, oh, this is what people mean when they say their life flashed before their eyes. This is what they're talking about. And then also thinking right after that, like, wow, it's a real thing that happens to people. It's not like a figure of speech or something. Like you in a life-threatening situation at the end of your life, I guess you were shown your whole life. And anyways, yeah, that was I remember having the conscious thought, this is what people mean when they say your life is flashing before your eyes. And then as soon as I thought that, I was out of it. The book closed, the black void disappeared, I was back in my body, I could see my body. I was sliding down the slide safely into the trough of water, and my feet, slowed me down, and I got out. So okay, I was at the water park with like either my family or I was with a group of friends. I don't recall. But regardless, I had no frame of reference for what the hell that experience was. I was speechless. Like I had no way. I knew that if I talked about it or mentioned it to anyone, they would think I was crazy. And I did not have anyone to really talk about it to. And so I just kept it to myself and kind of shoved the memory deep within myself, like, what the hell was that? And it was only later, after I started reading about people who have near-death experiences and partial near-death experiences, like where you are about to be injured or you're in mortal danger and you start having near-death experience type stuff happen. That's what a partial near-death experience is. A full near-death experience, as I understand it, is when your body actually dies for some period of time. Your heart stops, or you experience cardiac arrest. You're physically basically dead, and you're having the near-death experience life review, meeting ancestors, whatever. Yeah, I had a partial near-death experience. I was physically okay. I really feel like the universe kind of, or a guardian angel or some sort of guardian spirit or something saw what was about to happen and, hit pause on everything, repositioned my body or something, nudged me back into the slide so that I'd be able to get out safely and not fall over the side onto cement. And then while I was being nudged, my consciousness or my soul left my body and was in this kind of nether realm for a moment. And then as soon as I was back on the slide and about to on the right path and not in no more danger, that's when I was back in my body and the experience was over. So yeah, like I said, I didn't tell anyone about it. It was only until later that I was reading about near-death experiences and watching YouTube videos about it and seeing that other people experienced stuff similar to mine. Mine was very limited. All I got really was the life review part where it just shows you what you've done in your life up to that moment. But except for the book materializing and seeing the images as it flipped through the pages, I didn't see anything else. I didn't travel through a tunnel. I didn't see any scenery at all. I didn't see any ancestors that had passed away or anything like that. It took a long time for me to realize that this could have been a near-death experience. It's what I feel in my heart happened. I can't prove it. I was the only one who experienced it, and I'm just relaying what I went through. I will say I was a young kid. I had no mental illness. I was not abusing drugs or anything. I was totally sober as a Mormon, let's say. So drugs could not explain this, nor mental illness. Anyways, that's my weird little near-death experience thing, paranormal woo-woo type experience. I just thought I'd record it here on the old channel. Thanks for listening. Plorp out.